to the Bushwick Book Club. Welcome to the Bushwick Book Club. I am so happy to welcome you here. We are celebrating Mr. Humble and Dr. Butcher by Brandy Schillace. We have 9 songwriters, 1 band, 1 poet, 1 chef who have all read this fascinating book, this incredible story of Dr. Robert White and his quest to transplant the human soul. And by the human soul, we mean the human brain, because that's where he was certain that the soul was located. And by by human soul, we mean definitely human, because he did not believe that animals had souls at all. Hence all of the research that was very controversial. And this is just one of the questions that this book discusses, but it not only does that, it presents a slice of the pun. Today's show is going to be very punny, and just in case you weren't aware of this, I have a feeling. But it also presents the science itself, which is fascinating because A, the human system is fascinating, and also B, the brain, right? I mean, come on, there's so much we don't know still. And it's not just about the science, it's also a record of the Cold War and presenting how that completely affected advancements in technology. And there was that inner space race, as the author writes. And it's not only that, it's a story of individuals, really extreme individuals, and their obsessions and ambitions. And all of that is told in such an artful way that it reads like a suspense novel, or like a historical scientific thriller. Is that a genre? I think that might be, is that a new genre? I would say it's maybe the culinary equivalent of, I couldn't find an exact thing, but I was like, maybe like a plate of nachos where it's at once meaty and gooey and crunchy and spicy, and you look at the plate of it and you're like, how am I ever gonna finish this? And then, oh my God, it's all gone. You're like, how did that happen? And can I have more, please? So it's sort of like that. Definitely a page turner. And oh, if this is your first Bushwick Book Club, I just want to welcome you and let you know that we are not your mother's book club, but we do present responses to the book. We have discussions, but in the form of music and new art. So all of this work is brand new. I haven't seen most of it. So you and I were all in this together. Here we are on the edge of the unknown, just like we tend to, where we tend to meet. And so we're the first ears to hear these songs. And so we just like to thank everyone for listening with open ears and open hearts and open minds and open souls, wherever they're located. So now, without further ado, let me introduce Amanda Thorpe in London, who's holding down the London fort. She is the head of Bushwick Book Club London, and we have several London performers as well tonight. Please welcome Amanda Thorpe in Battersea. Hey! Hey, you guys!
Hello there. I'm just wondering, can you hear me? Because we've got a very strange sound system going on. So, excellent. I saw
Yes.
thumbs. Yay!
Great.
So I'm here with a runaway husband, Adi, who is joining us from London. We were going to be outside in the garden, but unfortunately it's raining, so we decided to come inside where it's a lot warmer. But we did bring with us a brain. I popped by work earlier today. I work in a neurodisability hospital, actually, and so just thought I'd bring a brain along. We just can't get it out of its case, but we'll be eating that through the evening, I think. This actually, it's amazing. I really have thoroughly enjoyed this book. It's an incredible journey. Mr. White, the Dr. White of the book, what a character. I cannot imagine what he would have been like to know. Extraordinary, very split between somebody that you just think would be like a really nice person, you know, a sort of nice dad, you know, round and, you know, friendly and everything, and then like absolute butcher, as in the title. Some horrendous practical jokes he played on people, which I'm sure would get him, you know, disbarred in this day and age, but an incredible journey. And Brandy is such an interesting author. The way she writes is incredible. It's a whole, you know, it sweeps you along, and you're reading these things, and it's beautifully crafted, and then you go, oh my God, what have I just read? It's absolutely horrifying. Very controversial. I've been on a bit of a roller coaster of experiences with the whole thing, and fascinating. So thank you, Brandy, for writing it. Thank you, AD, for holding down the fort and running away from the other husbands to be with me this evening. And we're really, really pleased to be with you.
Yeah, I hope it's not as wet in New York.
Yes. All right, and now, without further ado, the lady who got the story herself and spent however long she did writing and researching it, I'd like to introduce Brandy, whose name I cannot pronounce, last name Schillace.
Schillace, I think.
Schillace!
Oh, am I here? Oh, I'm everywhere. There's so many me's. Hello, everyone. It's great to be here. I decided to wear my post-apocalyptic flapper dress. It seemed appropriate to talk about brains. This is really exciting for me because, as you might have known, we've all been kind of cooped up a little bit for the last 18 months or so. And the launch has largely been not in person. And so I physically came to New York. Like, I'm really here, which is amazing. Yeah! I could not physically get to London, but I'm there with you in spirit. At least part of my soul I sent ahead. So it's there with all of you in London in the rain. It's about 90 degrees and sunny here. I love this book because it pursued me relentlessly, and I didn't mean to write it. I didn't know I was going to write it. But when you have a friend who's a neurologist and who does a lot of work on brain death and trauma, and they invite you to their office because they have something interesting to show you, it's hard to resist that. And that something interesting turned out to be Dr. White's journal, the very first one where he begins thinking about abstracting a brain and proving that it can live beyond its body. And that notebook really spurred me on to this journey. And I know that there's a couple different places in the book where I say things like Dr. White thought. He really did write down so many of his thoughts. And so I want you to know it's not historical fiction. Every single thing in this book is based on things I found out about him. And in every single case where I thought something was a rumor, you know, like he's friends with the Pope. No, it turns out he's friends with 2 popes. Everything like that kept happening. It just kept getting bigger. And he's a peculiar, interesting, big personality. And I'm so glad that I could bring him to you in both sides of his personality. So what would you like me to do next? What would you like me to read? Would you like me to tell you some of this horrible practical jokes? What would you like to know about?
Oh my gosh.
So much, I know.
Yeah. Somebody else think quick on their feet.
Well, since I think a couple of us are going to be eating some brains later, right? We've got some brains to eat. I would like to start off by telling you one of my favorite practical jokes. And this one is less gruesome than some of his other practical jokes. The West Side Market. There's a West Side Market here too. In Cleveland, there's a West Side Market. And Dr. White had 10 children. He was not selling them at the market. Sorry, I didn't mean to make that as a connection. But he had 10 children. He used to take them shopping. I want you to imagine taking 10 children grocery shopping at a large, sprawling outdoor market. So he goes to the West Side Market, but he's not there for groceries today. He's there to pick up cows' brains, because he teaches students, and it's good for them to dissect some brain matter. So he's picking up his big cow brain. He's got it wrapped in brown paper. They walk out, and there happened to have been an accident just outside the West Side Market. It wasn't fatal or anything. It was a pretty decently bad accident. The hospital had already come with the ambulance. Everyone had been taken away, and a lone police officer arrives late. So he pulls up to the scene, and he gets out, and he's ready for action. What happened? Where's the accident? Dr. White had his young son with him, and he hands the brain to his child and says, "Run up to that police officer and tell him that the brain fell out of one of the car accident victims, and he needs to rush it to Metro Hospital right away." So his child runs up to this brain, we found it in the bushes, and it has to go to Metro Hospital. The police officer doesn't know anything. He's probably all of 22 years old. He jumps in his car, he turns the siren on, and he rushes this cow brain down to Metro. In the meanwhile, Dr. White has stepped into a shop and called his office from the shop to be like, okay, there's a guy coming in, and he thinks he has the brain for an accident victim, and I want you to mess with his head. So he gets to the hospital. He's like, I have a brain. There was an accident. I need to give them their brain. And I kid you not, the front desk woman, completely stone-faced, says, well, we need a couple brains. There's been a few accidents. Do you know which body this one belongs to? And that was Dr. White's idea of a good Sunday joke. So that's the man that I'm writing this book about. And he does have a dark side, too. I don't want to discount that. Oh, that was the light side. It gets worse. It gets better, too. He was very much heroic. He saved people's lives. He was nominated for a Nobel Prize for inventing brain cooling techniques we still use today. He also took the heads off of things and put them on other things and then let them live that way. And that's pretty horrifying. Probably the best way to introduce you to Dr. White's personality is that Dr. Frankenstein was a big hero of his. He loved that book, Frankenstein, and he didn't think it was a cautionary tale. He thought it was more of like a recipe, like instructions to follow. And I won't lie to you, if any of you have watched Young Frankenstein, and there's the scene where he goes into the basement and he finds the book that says How I Did It from his grandfather, Victor Frankenstein. Opening that box on the first day when I was introduced to Dr. White and finding that notebook felt like a How I Did It kind of moment. And that's how I ended up with this book. Should I read a bit? I don't want to take up too much time. Okay, I'll give you a little bit of the book. It was really hard to figure out where to start with this, but I've decided let's just dive in to the surgery or the experiment, however, that proved to Dr. White that the brain could outlive the body. And it can, by the way. January 17th, 1963. White scrubbed for surgery. Together with Vidura and Albin, he'd previously cross-matched each pair of monkeys for blood compatibility. Now the smaller monkeys, soon to be mere brains, were given they're basically given an anesthetic and immobilized. They would not wake again in their bodies. White and his team set about performing the perfusions on each pair, monitoring blood pressure, and using oscillograph recorders to print and store data. Lee Wolin, an experimental psychologist, and Ron Yates, an engineer who helped design the support systems, but in the operating room, White would rely principally on Vidura and Albin. Now I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. They anesthetized the monkeys, they shaved them, and then things get to be somewhat complex. To begin with, the monkeys would be side by side, with the donor monkey, blood donor monkey, strapped into a specially made wooden chair. The surgeons next inserted the femoral artery of the donor animal through a T-shaped cannula where it would be connected via tubes to the recipient. Both were wrapped in thermal garments. As the blood donor monkey began to serve as a two-body circulation machine, White set aside his ever-present pipe. If his interest in the careful excising of tissue had begun in his Catholic school dissection room, then he'd been waiting for this moment for more than 2 decades. Up to this point, the surgery had been simple. 2 monkeys wrapped in blankets, sharing their circulation. Now work could begin on the smaller monkey, where it lay upon its back on an adjustable miniature operating table. White made the first incision into the head. That cut extended along the angle of jaw so the skin could be peeled back. One by one, White and Vidura severed and removed the anterior neck muscles and those along the lateral surface of the bones. The trachea, next, was severed, along with the esophagus, lifted up and away were the muscles of the base of the skull, and they monitored all the while the vitals. Blood pressure, temperature, oxygen, everything, everywhere, seemed in good order. It was time to begin cutting away the face, the point at which the process, despite all its care and sterility, begins to seem much less like surgery and much more like butchery. White rotated the monkey onto its stomach to better reach the scalp, which was pulled away. He opened holes in the skull and they attached 6 stainless steel electrodes to the exposed brain tissue with quick-setting dental cement. They rotated the monkey onto its back once again, then removed its lower jaw, ever careful of those cranial nerves. Severing those would damage the brain. Several complex procedures later, and the process of externalizing blood flow began. The body fell away. Then, checking that pressures in the cooled brain were stable, they removed the skull support structures. At last, suspended from a small strip of skull and housed in White's curious apparatus with its funnels and its tubes, was a perfectly intact monkey brain. The operation had taken 8 hours. Images of the surgery reveal a bizarre and yet strangely familiar sight. The brain's gelatinous mass doesn't hold much of a shape. A brain on a dissection table quickly flattens out. But suspended from White's apparatus, bathed in life-giving blood and cooled to avoid damage, the monkey's brain appeared in textbook perfection. The convolutions of beautiful topography, the vessels and veins standing out clearly, pumping full of vital fluids. Doesn't look like gray matter at all, but flushed and pink, and more than this, the brain was sending out electrical signals just as any living brain inside any living body would do. The monkey brain was thinking.
Oh my gosh. Brandy Schillace, everybody. Doesn't that make you want to get in your jammies and scare it up? Yeah. Alrighty. Let's, where do we go from there? We go to music. We're going to Mason McCormick in the DC area. It's his first Bushwick Book Club performance with us, and we're happy he can be here. Please welcome Mason McCormick.
Hey there, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Got a nice little song for you here called Humble Bob. And as always, remember, friends, try not to kill the chief surgeon. Maybe you've wondered, maybe you've laughed, maybe you've cried yourself to sleep. In all the thunder, perhaps you've gasped, but still found no relief. 'Cause thieves may rob, and life may shame. So humble Bob, please call my name. Saint Aloysius knows that we're not all the same, no. We've all been tested and we've all been found wanting just a little bit. 'Cause all these blessings to which we're bound are bound to be short-lived. As thieves they rob, and life may shame. So humble Bob, please call my name. Saint Aloysius knows that we're not all the same. So why do we dance down this worn-out promenade? Today or tomorrow, the only constants change as the ship of Theseus awaits. Demikhov's daughters are the same as his wife. And if we shot her, oh, we'd be surprised. 'Cause there'd be no slaughter, no, she would survive. Demikhov's doggies are the same as the brain. War is a song which should have no refrain. The less we yodel along, the more we can Yuri Gagarin. Yuri says, I can see the clouds, I can see everything, and it's beautiful. Who knew that the secret to eternal life is in Cleveland? As thieves may rob and life may shame, so humble Bob, please, please, please call my name, because I wanna live forever. Careful what you wish for. That's it, friends. Thank you very much. Look forward to
Yes! Woo! Thank you so much, Mason. That was amazing. And we got a Russian accent in there, and we know where the secret to eternal life is. It's in Cleveland. Please welcome our next performer. He is a poet. It's his first Bushwick Book Club performance with us. Please welcome Dan Machlin. And I think Amanda would like to say a couple words too. They're old friends.
No, I was just wanting to say that Dan's a fabulous poet, and he's got his own poetry press, that Future Poets, and I'm really, really pleased that he was able to join us. So I'm really looking forward to seeing you, Dan.
Thank you so much, Amanda.
Yay!
Thanks for having me. Brandy, it's a pleasure to meet you. I love this incredibly interesting, wonderful, and thought-provoking book. And I think one of the things that poets always grapple with is in-between space. So this speculative operation that about transplanting or abstracting the brain to a different body, that's something that I kind of was interested in. And so this piece is about the in-betweenness about that possible experience. One believes it's the sea or a coming together of loose ends, but this is only a hand grazing your face, prompting you to look up. Between beats, which are no longer in time, rubato. These unfurling sequences of peripheral sounds when you awoke too early, yearning for quiet. Watery haze, flowers decapacitated in a placid stream. A stop and start, a stillness, cancellation signals, speeches or pointless arguments, muffled guttural sounds, ha, yeah, as if one's vocal cords never worked. Everything feels absent, unpublished, inexact, misfiled, out of print. Head B, body A. Or was it body A, head B? If body A, then head B. But if body B, then head A. Okay, body B, head B. No, body A, head A. Or was it body A, head B? Or was it body B, head B? Sometimes body B was head A. Sometimes head A was body B. Or was it head A and head B? Or body A and body B? No, was body B and head B. Or body B and head B. Please, if lost, return to body A. Or if lost, return to body B. Or if lost, return to head A. Or if lost, return to head B. Let's go back to body A. Let's go back to body B. Let's go back with head A. Yes, let's go back with head A. Sometimes these blue threads sparkle. Where did I go? Sometimes these blue threads sparkle. The lights seem so cold, either on or off. In the distance, focusing on something, everything, floating precisely always and nowhere. Something I thought, I forgot. Everything keeps falling from my head. This occupational distance, where the listening occurs in discrete chapters. A joke, a paragraph, crossing the street, an airplane, blue dress, church steeple. Between these moments of emptiness and when we're reattached, we're frozen under glass, interspersed with ads, a fabric, a desire, crisp page turn, whipping through it like a film frame by frame, unimpressed, magnificent laughter tunneling inward, missing tooth, a countessa in a bone church, fake adoption letters you received and wrote, volcanic sands in cooler summers, signals, speeches, a natural detritus, or elastic silence where we disappeared, we spoke, we witnessed, undertook, went missing. Thanks so much.
Wow, that was beautiful. I feel like there was. I'm under a spell. That's what it's like. I guess it's called poetry. Oh my God. All right, thanks so much, Dan. Okay, please welcome our next performer. He's also a co-producer with Bushwick Book Club. You know him. His name is Charlie Nieland.
Hi. So yeah, this book brought up a lot of things for me about how we participate in this this identification with duality to the point that it reminded me of sort of, I always felt like the song Space Oddity by David Bowie was actually about addressing non-duality. It wasn't just about like the wonders of space travel. It was about the split of the mind and the body, and the astronaut that floats off from the Earth, you know. And so I felt like I wanted to address that kind of thing with this song, and but at the same time, you know, I'm including myself in this indictment of humanity. I mean, if my mom needed the brain surgery, I'd be like, you know, I want the good brain surgery. I don't, you know, I get it, you know. It's like, but oops. So once I have this strap affixed properly, I don't know, it's okay, thanks. I will then play this song. It's called Brutalist Monuments. Perfection and destruction, we can't seem to give more than we take. We are so constructed, designed to reveal our big mistakes. A form expressing nothing except to stay alive at any cost. Could it be we're bluffing, making up for something that we've lost? We are brutalists, 100,000 years surviving. Just what did we miss? We cannot find the soul inside us. See how far we've traveled. We were stars, then slime, then things with brains. All our plans unravel. How are we so sure we're not the same? How are we superior when we can't even see just what we are? Enjoy the plush interior and rows of monkey heads in jars. We are brutalist, severed heart and mind connection. Now here comes the twist. We've become the architecture we became. monuments to misdirection. Celebrate victory by vivisection. Perfection by destruction. We just cannot help but take that shape. We are so constructed, designed to reveal our big mistakes. We are brutalist, severed heart and mind connection. Now here comes the twist. We've become the architecture. We became monuments to misdirection. Brutalist monuments. Brutalist monuments. Brutalist monuments. Brutalist monuments. Brutalist monuments.
Charlie Nieland!
Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie. Please welcome our next performer. She's a performer. She's also a chef. This is Uni Lee, and she created something very special for us. Please welcome Uni Lee.
Hi, everyone. I have a lot of faith in the unlimited capacity and creativity that resides in all of us. Actually, I think humans are a bit addicted to it. Take our humble crew from Bushwick Book Club. There's probably like 100 gazillion songs, and yet we keep creating more, and they're also great. On the flip side, we also limit ourselves in many ways. Our limiting beliefs are just a byproduct of our conditioning. Our brain's capacity and the brain itself is the least understood of all of our vital organ systems. But every day we're learning more about how we're wired. I think, therefore I am, is an old adage. We believe that our brains make us who we are. I suspect that not only does our brain think, but that our brain feels. 100 million neurons, sense receptors that make up the structure of the brain. So how about I feel, therefore I am? Some of you might know that I teach people how to cook, and when we create a dish, it's more than an exercise in following directions. How we feel is in the act of giving flavors the dish. So I rarely use gelatin, but creating a gory yet provocative shrimp cocktail for the show was, well, a no-brainer. Maybe what I'm doing with the dish is cramming all the takeaways from the book into something that someone else can savor and enjoy. So Susan and I filmed a video. My lovely daughter edited the piece. I'm doing a plug for all three of us. One thing I learned from Dr. White is that if you want to support something that you love, you pull off a publicity stunt. So in that light, if you donate at least $5 to support Bushwick Book Club and this show and all the amazing performers, you get a private link to this video with a link to the PDF of the recipe with measurable ingredients and directions. So you guys ready to launch the video? I think so. Take it away. I'm going to be making a shrimp cocktail aspic brain mold recipe for you. We're going to talk about different aspects of the brain as we go through the recipe. We're going to use shrimp and of course course, gelatin. We'll start with the poaching the shrimp. And the way that you make a poach for a shrimp or any kind of seafood is basically just a salty water with some kind of flavor in it. I have some unsustainably caught shrimp. The flesh is very delicate. You know, like our flesh is very delicate, and you don't want to overcook the shrimp. What I'm gonna do is, before it really comes to a boil, I'm gonna take about a pound of shrimp and put it in the poaching liquid. Grab them as they start to turn pink. All right, see these, how pink they are?
I'll twist my arm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah. So it only takes about 5 minutes or so. Shrimp is cooked. Looks beautiful. Very brainy. I'm gonna put it in the refrigerator to let it start cooling a little bit. Now it's time to make the gelatin, right? Actually, I think our brains are pretty much composed of gelatin. That's the gray matter. You're gonna take the powder, the Jello powder, and you're gonna let it sit in some cold water. You would ideally cool this liquid down. Dang, I hope this strainer is big enough. But you can take you're gonna strain the liquid out. We're gonna use the liquid from here to make the Jello, so that the Jello itself is super flavorful. Here's about half a cup of the Jello with the granules. We need to heat it up so that it can, so all the gelatin dissolves. Alright, so we're just gonna stir this until the gelatin is dissolved. And then we'll be ready to go. This is pretty neutral color, so I thought it'd be fun to try to play with color with the Jello by adding different color variants. Here, for instance, we have beet juice. This beautiful magenta. Wow, wow, wow. Throw it in there. And the beet does go on like that. So here I have a novelty brain melt. You want to put cooking spray or make sure there's a good amount of oil on it because the gelatin is sticky, right? So you want to make sure it'll release from the mold. And then you want to line the shrimp up into these brain groove and crevices. I wanted to incorporate all like different aspects of what you would have in a shrimp cocktail, like lemon, flavor. These are the raw onions, central core of the brain. Let's throw some more neurons! Yay! More neurons! And then lastly, another layer of shrimpola. This is a Scotch bonnet, which is gonna just spice up this a little bit, and I'm putting this structurally in to represent the amygdala because from reading the book, I got so interested in what this represents, and it's there you go. There's so power. There you go, right by the brainstem. We're gonna pour the Jello into the mold. And we'll let it sit for 5 hours. We'll see what happens. Bye-bye, brain Jello. We can't hear you.
Okay. Hi, you guys. Thank you so much, Uni and Masai, for that amazing video. We now have, we'll do the great unveiling. We'll now do the great unveiling. Want to come a little closer?
I got it
Oh,
all.
you know what? Let's do a thing. We're gonna go like this, and now you can look at right here.
Oh.
All right, there you go. All right, here is the no-brainer. Aspect.
Whoa.
Ah,
Or ew, depending on how.
look at it. And
Wow.
whoever
Wow.
gets the amygdala, wins. Gets to make 3 wishes. For less survival trauma, fear, or something like that. And we're going to be serving this soon, but right now we're inviting the author back. This author, wow, she's the first one that we've ever had to not only write us the book, she wrote it for us, not only to write the book, but to create a cocktail for it. So please welcome Brandy. She needs 2 minutes. All right. It's okay. There's a lot of mezcal here, so there's plenty to do. All right, you guys. Brandy, take it away.
Okay, sorry. I
No,
made
no,
friends. I made friends with Trout the cat, so I thought.
Oh,
some
yeah,
hand
you're right.
washing
Oh,
was involved.
understood. It's Trout's
you know
fault.
what? I am gonna need a bit of ice.
Ice. Okay, I'll grab you some ice.
Okay,
Maybe I should grab
fantastic.
it here.
Yes. Yes, I do need mine. Quick look at mine. So I'm an amateur mixologist. The trouble is I do sometimes forget my own recipes, so I'm just double checking what. Yes, we're good. Okay, thank you. Just to make sure. This all got started partly because I also run something called the Peculiar Book Club, and I promised I would make a special drink when Mary Roach joins me for her evening at the Peculiar Book Club, which isn't actually anything like as awesomely intricate as this is. My goodness. But I created a cocktail for that, so then I thought, well, I ought to create one for my own book. So this is called The Humble Butcher, and so I want you to understand there's some duality involved in this particular drink. So we have the fact that Mr. Humble, that Robert White was Catholic, so we've got some nice Italian red. We've got some red wine here. Think communion. Think sipping wine in your study kind of guy with his children all around him. So we have that. But we also know that he's a bit of an unexpected person, and I thought, what's the most unexpected kind of liquor? Like, what's the one where unexpected things happen if you drink it? So I decided on tequila, but smoky tequila, so we're using mezcal instead, but that wasn't quite smoky enough. So I decided that I would add some hot habanero bitters. Now, we couldn't find habanero bitters, so Susan actually made this, and this is
Weary peppers.
Weary pepper, so it's going to be nice and hot. So we're not
From
gonna
a
have any-
past book club show.
Oh,
Yeah,
awesome,
yeah.
fantastic. So we've got that going on, and just a little simple syrup, because we've got to sweeten it up a little.
It's sugar, not sugar. That's all I had.
It's good. Little sweet and sour effect. We also have some lovely slices of oranges, that can be used as a garnish in the drink. Quick question: do we have any lemon juice?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of lemon juice
Okay,
for that
I'm
sweet and
gonna-
sour. That is amazing. I missed the unveiling. That is fantastic. All right. So, because I never measure anything, we're just going to be doing this in the usual sort of sense. I promise I can get you guys the recipe later, though, if you so desire. We're going to start off with the unexpected portion of this cocktail with you should smell this, with the mezcal. And generally speaking, I'm a pour forward kind of person, so we'll put some of that in there, and we got to get our weary hot stuff going on in there. Oh, that was probably too much. It's never too much. We also need just a little bit of this sweetness, just a dash, maybe a little bit more than a dash. Oh, it's hard to know. I cook like this as well. And a little bit of lemon juice, because we do want just a little sour in our sweet, just to kind of give you that full Dr. Butcher flavor. Do you think that's enough tequila? I don't know. We'll see. It's hard to know. We are improvising on this shaker, so hopefully I won't end up with tequila all around. Or, I probably will. Okay, maybe I'll shake gently. We'll shake gently. If you have a real shaker, you can get really crazy with it if you want. But we're going to be delicate. All right, so now we're going to pour this. I know it seems like I forgot the wine. I promise I haven't. We'll pour this into our glass. Right about there. I'll get a little bit left over. It's good. I need a spoon. An audience spoon, please. Spoon from the audience. It's not for what you think. We're not mixing. We must provide a float. Thank you. I promise I will try to be very careful about this. You don't want to know what happened to my kitchen when I first came up with this drink. Now, in goes the red wine float. The slice of brain, just to tie it all together. Nice marinated brain at the bottom. So that, my friends, is the Humble Butcher. I hope that you have enjoyed this presentation. I will say that if you do it in a square, in a rocks glass, you can actually get the wine to float on top, and so you'll have white and red. And then when you drink it, it like mixes together. So you have a couple different ways. This is more the martini version. And the martini version is and would you like to take a sip? You want a first sip? Susan, I really think you ought to.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, let's change. Let's trade, yeah? All right. Tell us what you think.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good.
It's
All
good.
right.
It's hot.
It's complex.
Yes.
Yes, it's deep. It's got layers. It's saying something to me, and I might have to have some more. All right, thank you so much, Brandy. Brandy Schillace's Humble Butcher.
Humble Butcher.
All righty. Wow.
I'll make these for everybody later.
Oh, good. That's what we're doing here in the East Village. Just a little, cocktails about books. Books about yeah. All right. Please welcome our next performer. It's Serena Jost.
Thank you.
And we're so excited. This is her first Bushwick Book Club performance. And we connected via Amanda Thorpe initially. So Amanda's in London, and she's going to say a few words.
Go, Serena!
Oh, thank you. Hi, Amanda. It's raining.
It's raining, so we're in safe and sound inside. But it's really, really nice that you could make it, and it's nice to see you. I just wish I was there to see you in person.
Thank you so much. I love that we're all together again like this. It's very nice. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited that Brandy is here. It's unexpected and just a treat. And her book really stayed with me. I mean, I feel like, it was about blood and cells and stuff, and I feel like it got into my cells. And it was really, and not always in a fun way, so sometimes I was really dazzled and amazed, and sometimes I was so uncomfortable and devastated. And so I think one of the things that stood out for me about the doctor was his faith, his Catholicism, and that he felt that he was serving God by doing these surgeries, and not only an ally, but that it was all in service of the soul, which is true, but there were a lot of rough things that happened on the way, and I was struck with how he was able to be this man of faith, but also be not only birthing something, but work as a really destructive force in the world. So that was striking to me, and like all of us, people are many things. So this is my song, and it's called We Are Thankful. Enter the room, smoke a pipe, tell the team to begin. Man of vision with a sure hand goes where no one has been. Ooh, ooh, it will go to sleep, never to dream again. Prepare the scalpel, Libby is ready, go deep and deeper within. Ooh, ooh, is the body ready? Is the body on ice? Prometheus has his linchpin. Does God stake his servant's faith? Let the transformation begin. Ooh, ooh,
Thank you, Serena. Serena Jost, everybody. Please welcome our next performer. We're so happy that she can make it. She has been a longtime Bushwick Book Club contributor. Her name is Jessie Kilguss, and she's relocated to LA, so it's a special treat to have her here now.
Thank you.
Jessie!
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here, and thrilled that Brandy's here as well. And the book was really interesting. I had trouble with the animal cruelty, as we were discussing before the show started. I'm an animal person, and the idea that animals don't have a soul is just completely ludicrous to me. I think that many different types of animals are a lot wiser than us, perhaps in some ways, or just have different ways of knowing things. And one of my proudest accomplishments of the pandemic was I taught my dog how to wink on command. So they're very smart. Interesting factoid, the sperm whale's brain is 6 times the size of a human brain. And just imagine that potential. So yeah, had a hard time, even just looking at the pictures of the animals in the book. But I know it was very important work and led to lots of advancements in medicine that really help us. So Charlie is going to be playing guitar with me. Take it away, Charlie. Humans have a lot of fucking gall. It makes me sick just looking at that pic of the double-headed dog. It makes me feel sick and ashamed to be human, to be human, to be human. The misery in the host dog's eyes, these are souls you torture until they die. I couldn't finish looking through the pictures in this book. The depth of pain in that one monkey's look hurt my empathic heart in a deep, deep way. It makes me feel sick and ashamed to be human, to be human, to be human. We are not a superior species when it comes to love, trust, and empathy. And I guess I must be a hypocrite, 'cause I'm not even vegetarian. Yeah, I know these experiments led to medical advancements that I probably take for granted. But there's gotta be a way to live in this world without causing so much pain. It makes me feel sick and ashamed to be human. We are not a superior species when it comes to love, trust, and empathy. And I guess I must be a hypocrite, 'cause I'm not even vegetarian. I grew up on a farm. I have deep connections with animals. I'm a bit of a whisperer. I'll tell you this much for free: chickens are kind of gross, nearly impossible to cuddle. But that's a story for another time. Don't get me started on SeaWorld or we'll be here all day. Makes me feel sick and ashamed to be human, 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 to be human. Thank you very much.
To be human, and like, you know, in the same room while Jessie's performing. It's been a little while, but it's really, it feels really good. Okay, you guys. Speaking of feel good, please welcome down Rauf. He's upstate. There you are. You're recording an album with Life in a Blender, and you're also doing this.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We can hear you.
That's
you can be a little louder.
What a great book. I love this book. And I grew up in America. I grew up on planet Earth, and I had never heard of these head transplants. So I feel like I missed out. I missed Life magazine and National Geographic through all these stages of when this actually happened. So it was totally fascinating to see that there were actual head transplants and to see that there was an actual monkey head transplant that basically worked. It was just astonishing. And that, I mean, it was just a great story. Great story. So I'm enthusiastic. Love the book. Have I said that? Did I make it clear? Okay. So, mine's all about where the soul's at and how we might get at it. Here we go. 1 second. It takes a brain freeze to preserve the soul, to take it out whole and make sure it's home. It never erodes, although you can't see it. It's a powerful force like gravity's being. It takes you right to the core. But how can we be certain? And how can we know for sure? take some blood to put it all to the test. It may cost lives to go to shore from a guest. It may take knives to cut it out of its nest, where the brain resides in the fourth dimension. 300 monkey heads floating. 300 monkey heads floating. 300 monkey heads floating. 300 monkey heads floating. You cannot fear the extreme consequences of the work you're doing. To keep the brain and soul alive, you may leave a trail of ruin. You must look beyond the mind and body relationship to a strange metaphysical connection. Takes a brain freeze to preserve the soul. It's a brain freeze to take it out whole. It takes a brain freeze to maintain the gold that is the essence of who we are. I'd like to and my monkey head.
Woo! Oh my gosh, look at those gorgeous monkey heads you have back there. Beautiful. Thanks, you guys. Thanks, Life in a Blender.
Thanks for
Don
having
Rauf. Oh my gosh. That was awesome. Please welcome some more awesome. We have back in London, Runaway Husbands. Hi, Bloody Spider.
Hi, Susan. I'd like to say thank you for you and Charlie
you.
For enabling all this. She's eating brain, but we've created end-to-end digital entropy and used the oldest things that we could possibly find and couldn't possibly do this live. And so without the video stream, we'd never achieved it. And we wanted to make something, you know, commiserate to the book and everything like that. And it's quite disturbing. Yeah, it was just made out of like the idea that that things become de facto, just like us all having jabs in the arms now. No one was having genetically modified food or anything like that. They didn't want anyone messing with the brains or anything like that, or anything with the bodies or anything like that. And so I think that what comes, and the same as the way that we created the music and everything, came out of old stuff, which Brandy pointed out, that like Dr. Bob didn't have like good facilities. He didn't have good staff. There was no money. There was no anything for this kind of research. But if we experiment and we research and we evolve and we invent, then we can move forward and get past this horrible crisis that we're all in at the moment. And so, yeah, metal fingers in my body. And we wanted to make it disturbing. And I haven't actually seen this. So I also want to say thank you to Craig Hunt that did the final cut and sent it over to Susan and Charlie. And Hawley that lent us all the projection and theatrical equipment. I hope that you enjoy it. It's supposed to be a bit disturbing, you know.
We'll see what it's like.
Yeah, hopefully. We'll see what it's like. I'm waiting for it. I can't wait.
Thank you. Yeah! Thank you, Runaway Husbands. Thank you for that amazing film. I want to introduce our next player, but before I do, I just wanted to thank everyone else who is involved, because it takes a village. I think I mentioned that when James Lane helped us with a laptop loan recently so that we can do our little OBS thing. We have like several subscriptions that we have to maintain and yada yada. But there's also Teresa Toro, who is here, who is chatting it up for us. And we have Darian Fiorino, who's being our Zoom tech today. Scott does our art in New Orleans, and he's head of Bushwick Book Club New Orleans. I wanted to introduce to you Teresa Toro here, who's going to help me do the Bushwick Book Club pitch. And here she is, Teresa.
Hi. All right, so this is my pitch. I said to Susan, what should I say? And she said, I know you'll come up with something. I was like, okay, I don't know. I just cut and paste, but performers, this is kind of like what we do in that beautiful crowded back room at Barbez every time. And, pass the bucket and just remind everybody that we love performing for you. And it's not much, but just like whatever you can contribute goes right to the performers. We do love doing this for you. And now, as an added incentive, I'm not sure who for, but maybe for both of us, because it's win-win. Bushwick Book Club this year became a nonprofit. So hallelujah. So your donations are now tax deductible. You can actually make a gift and it'll keep on giving come tax time. So you can certainly make a donation. It'll go to the performers and there'll be a little kickback for you come tax time. So thank you so much for watching and supporting us. It's meant a lot through the pandemic.
Oh, thanks, Teresa. Thanks, Teresa, for doing that. That was sweet. Please welcome, speaking of sweet, please welcome our next performer, Mya Byrne here, who we know through Bushwick Book Club in California as well, in Oakland. And we're so happy that Mya's here. Thank you.
Thank you. What a pleasure. This is, so for me, there's a lot in this book that is really important because, first of all, I recommend you all go out and get the book. It's really a fantastic read. And for me, my grandparents were both physicians and they worked in the field of animal ethics and in the time frame that this book is set in. So for me, I lost them a number of years ago, and so for me there was a big part where I actually got to relive a bit of them through this, which was really quite moving. The other thing that was really moving for me was a moment in the book where Dr. White is having an interview with a reporter named Fallaci. I don't remember her first name. What's her first name? Oriana Fallaci, who later went on to interview Kissinger and apparently destroyed him, which is awesome. But so if you don't walk away from this book both being disturbed by it and also in awe of the work that was done in that time, then you don't get it. It's such an amazing story. But so she focuses on this one operation that he did with this monkey that was unnamed, and she said, "Does the monkey have a name?" And he's like, "No, go ahead and name the monkey." And she named the monkey Libby. And I started thinking about Laika, the Russian cosmonaut dog, and I figured Libby needed a song. So here we go. Living you aren't so different from me. You're a scaled down dream. I wonder what your thoughts would be if we might think things similarly. Living, did you feel your mind when new and old combined? What did you know was happening when the blood flowed and your eyes shine? Essence, all that's left. What were you when you awoke? Did you know you defeated death? Oh, oh, Livio, Livio. Oh, Livio. Living like a newborn child, so far from where you were raised. I didn't ask you for your sacrifice, but you gave it anyway. I remember you and I remember lives that you gave extra time to. You passed so much wisdom down, and there's still much more to find from you. Perfume in an empty bottle, traces of you here. What were you when you awoke? Did you ever disappear? Oh, Livio, Livio. Oh, Livio, Livio. You will live, you will always live in all you've kept alive. All the souls you've kept alive. Living like a newborn child. Living just for a little while. Living, thank you, hello. Oh, Livio, Livio.
Yeah!
Thank you so much.
Yay! I just wanted to let everyone see all the folks here in New York. And also, I needed to let people see your boots because they're so cute. Oh my God, these amazing boots. Okay. All right, thanks so much. Please welcome our next performer. I think you know her. She's currently, she may have a bite of brain in her mouth, but she's in London. She's not only eating brains, she's going to present her song, but we do have your video, Amanda. We have it. We've got it. You don't have to play it live. Charlie has it. Take it away.
I even got my car ready. But now that you've told me that, so I just wanted to talk a bit more about the book and the sort of idea of what becomes normal. You know, it's like in the 50s when, I think it was the 50s when the first kidney transplant was happening, and the whole sort of ethical concerns around it and the medical sort of versus science and religion and society. And it's like nowadays we would think nothing of having a kidney transplant, you know, perfectly normal. So there's the whole normalization of things that run through society. And so, you know, maybe in 10 years, who knows, maybe a brain transplant is going to be perfectly normal. I, you know, sort of find that kind of hard to reconcile in my own mind, but you know, once it's been normalized, then it may just be perfectly fine and dandy for everybody. But I thought another really interesting part of the book was that ethical discussion around when is somebody actually considered dead? Is it the brain? Is it the heart? Is it, you know, what incentive goes around? You know,
EEG trace.
The EEG trace. The harvesting of body parts. I remember people saying, don't ever carry a kidney donor or organ donor card, because the minute you do that, if something happens to you, then you go to a hospital, they'll see you've got an organ donor card, and they won't care about preserving you if you haven't got that, because having a nice fresh organ is a great thing. The other thing I thought was really interesting was Dr. White stopped calling it a brain transplant when he was trying to find a human to do this experiment on, and he said it was a body transplant because that felt more comfortable somehow for humans. And, you know, the whole sort of animal experimentation is really, really hard to read about, and you know, sort of, you know, think it was through what he was doing that you got so many wonderful results. But I don't know that the ends do justify the means. I don't know. It's really complicated. Anyway, I don't know, I'm sort of rambling on a bit, but it's such a huge topic, and, you know, in a world of changing religious beliefs and, you know, the idea of, you know, harvesting organs and harvesting bodies and, you know, animals being used for all kinds of things. You know, there was something where, you know, is a monkey or a whale or a tree worth more dead or alive? And as long as things are worth more dead, as long as the body and the organs are worth more being transplanted, then we're going to keep pursuing really bizarre things. So anyway, this song that I wrote, a bit like Dr. White, I sort of gathered multiple different things and merged them together. So I took some words from a doctor at the hospital that I work at, and she works in a hospital manipulating injured brains. And then I took some music from Philip Shelley, who works in a university manipulating young brains, and I used to work in advertising, manipulating, you know, oblivious brains. And so it was basically taking those three things, putting them together into this other creation. And luckily, I don't have to worry about whose soul we've now got through having combined these three souls of people into one thing. But Dr. White had to worry about that, like whose soul do you get once you do a body transplant? I don't know. Anyway, I'd love to play the video because I actually have the doctor reading her poem in it at the end, sort of, you know, so thank you very much.
He runs his fingers along my arm, her hair standing on end, her skin prickles with the sensation. I wonder whether he knows now that he is loving a stranger, the object of his affection. Now she's feeling him, now she is the one who's beating to his rhythm. I feel a breeze of jealousy as I am cast aside, and these ashes are left to grow cold. I mourn for you who soothes my arm, your eyes searching for something within me that is no longer there. Now she's feeling him, now she is the one who's beating to his rhythm.
He runs his finger along my arm, and her skin prickles with the sensation of it, her hair standing on end. I wonder whether he knows that he is loving a stranger. I feel jealousy towards this woman, now the object of his affections. She feels him, and now she is the one who beats this rhythm. Whilst I sit amongst the unwanted, unused, and unloved. I will be cremated, my flesh chopped and strung together with the flesh of others. My ashes will not be spread, but left to grow cold. I am the puppet of this woman's heart, just a simple cloth for someone else to cast their own tapestry. I mourn for myself, and I mourn for the one who soothes at my arm, his eyes searching for something within me that is no longer there.
Amanda, that was freaking beautiful. Jesus, I'm always amazed at what you do, not just audially, but visually. You know, it's amazing. Thank you. This is my song. You can come this way, Charlie. Okay. This is Marlon Sherry, and absolutely. And I was struck a lot by how the scientists were just these obsessed people. And as obsessed people, I relate to them. So I liked them. It's weird for me to deal with people who are, in a way, balanced and middle of the road. All those people, I'm like, what's wrong with you? Don't you hate something? Don't you love something? And they're like, oh no, that's fine. Okay. So my song is not about any of that. Hold on 1 second, I'm just gonna reach for it. But it does have some of my favorite phrases in the book. Tickles the senses, desire and
rebuilding what nature grew from scratch. What is a meaningful life? Where does the body end? Where do we begin? Not when the heart stops, not when the breath stops. Wait 3 to 5 minutes, the brain gives up the ghost. Not in your fingers, the pretty not in the liver, the bile within, not in the eyes, they're just the windows, not in your gut, with all that it knows, not in your heart, intimate rhythm, not in your bones. The marrow in them, not in your lungs, not in and out, not in the tongue, not in the mouth. Hours in the journey, hours in the journey. Can you transport the human soul? Can you transplant the human soul? When we die all over. When we die all over. When we die all over. When we die, all over. All
Thanks, you guys. Oh, and I had this song came out all backwards. I got the riff first, and then I got the title before I knew what I had before I got any of the words, and the title is Ischemic Time. When you read the phrase, it's like, well, duh, right? That's like the song title or a band name or something. I don't know. All right, thanks very much, and this is Marlon Cherry again. Okay, our next performer is Carrie Beehan she's upstate New York right now, but here she is, Carrie Beehan. She's our closer. Please welcome Carrie Beehan.
Hi, Serena. Hi, Amanda. Yeah, I'm in Maine, and I wish I was in the apartment with you all in New York. I live in New York, but I've come up here to do some work. And Brandy, you mentioned a performance artist that had a 10-fingered remote hand that you were talking about from the 80s and 90s in your book, and that's Stellak, and I used to hang with him in Berlin, and I went to those early performances in the early 90s, and he was actually doing the endoscopy and putting it down his throat and using a camera to take a film on projector screens for us in Germany while he was sending electrosignets to his arm to move all the fingers. And two of my friends walked out of the show because they were too grossed out by this technology back then. But I was just mesmerized when you mentioned, you didn't say his name, but it was Stellak. And on a personal level, my mother, we had to get permission to have her spine severed a couple of weeks before she died in hospice. And while I was reading the book, and these poor little baby monkeys and dogs wheeled on these steel trays, I do remember thinking of my mother wheeled back from the operating room with her hair in a shower cap after her spine had been severed, blissfully unaware of what had just happened to her, even though she'd also consented to it. She was aware she was going to be doing it. It's just all, it was, on a personal level, it was very strange to know that these little baby animals have to go through this. So, all that said, Brandy, please, can I have an autographed copy of the book? I read an I was given an electronic PDF to read, so I haven't seen the photographs, thank God. And I want my own personal signed copy from you, please. Okay, so just before I got the message from Amanda to read and join in, I had been quietly composing to Elon Musk because I was really, really pissed that he was putting chips in monkeys' brains now at this point in time. And then I met Mr. Humble, Dr. Butcher, Dr. White, and so I thought the two of them should meet from one era to the next. Mr. Musk, the monkey can't tell you what it wants. Mr. Musk, I bet there's loads of humans who respond if you offer them a seat on your fleet. I'm sure they'll line up exponentially for more to support being wired and surgically enhanced with a very clever processor of data so advanced. Trust me, I have full respect for planet Mars you'll own. I just wish, oh I'd wish you'd leave the monkeys alone. You've heard of Mr. Humble, Dr. Butcher, Dr. White, the famous neurosurgeon cooled the brain and furthered science. No doubt he made a medical leap as far as Mars. The monkeys lost their limbs and had heads swapped around then stuck in jars. What? The monkeys lost their limbs and had heads transplanted and stuck in jars. No! Oh, it's a horror story packaged in a life-preserving cause. But ethically, we really should protect limbs, paws, and claws. Ooh, Mr. Musk, try asking for volunteers with a voice. Ones that can choose freely, put their hands up and rejoice. I'm sure there'll be an entire fleet who gloat, hey, Mr. Elon Musk, yeah, yo, he put a chip in my nose. So please leave the monkeys, the rabbits, dogs, pigs, horses, camels, and monkeys alone. They really can't tell you if they'd volunteered to lie prone, waiting for that beneficial chip. I get it, I'd like one to stick under my wing. So come on, Mr. Elon Musk, yeah, hey. Just call me up and I will be your guinea pig.
Oh, lovely. Oh my gosh. Mary, that was awesome. That was amazing. The whole freaking show's been amazing, and I want to invite all the people back up here for our curtain call. We have been virtually group hugging the author for our shows, and now we get to really group hug her. Except it's kind of sticky today, so we don't have to we can very lightly.
You like elbow rub? We all got really good at elbow rubs, didn't we?
Yeah, we can do elbow rub. But thank you. Thanks everybody for being here. Thanks everybody in London and Maine, Carrie. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful.
Oh my God.
Done.
I want
Hey.
to talk to every single one of you. This is really bad. I just want to, I mean, like individually, and I want all your stuff. And like, you guys know I'm easy to find, right? You can find me and contact me, and it won't be weird, and I won't think you're stalkers. I love you. Please contact me.
Yay! We love you. Woo! Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Woo!